Live and direct, live and a date no jive.
Legalize it.
I mean, how much can a koala bear? Koala bear, koala bear. Koala bear. Barry pulls a joint out of his pocket. Bill says, "Great, Barry, a reefer."
Hi, and welcome back to the Koala podcast. And on this episode, we go for the first time ever to New Mexico. We don't normally hear much out of New Mexico, but I was contacted recently by Richard Strahlem. Hopefully I've got your surname right, Richard. And about the New Mexico CCD and some of the issues that smaller businesses and cannabis farmers are having with the organization. And Richard sent me through an open letter that he was a co-signee to, along with up to 20, 25 other businesses, I think it was, highlighting some of the issues that smaller farmers and other people in the business had with regulations and the way that they were managing the New Mexico situation. Richard, welcome to the show. Firstly, why not just give me a little bit of background about yourself and then why you got in touch?
My wife and I applied for a producer's license in 2022. The state of New Mexico passed the 22. So we saw an opportunity, start a business, right? So we applied for the producer's license. It was approved in August of 2022. We were approved to grow 594 plants annually. So we immediately started before that, I had started work on our grow house to convert it from a garage basically into a grow house. So when we got the approval, we needed to get seeds, whatever's necessary to start producing.
Yeah.
Which is what we did. We started our first crop, let's say in September of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I had to buy seed over the internet, which was still iffy at that time. It was probably illegal, but I purchased seed, and it wasn't illegal because it's not a high THC product. It's just a seed.
Yeah.
So bought seed. Yeah, bought some seed. We started our first crop. This is just my wife and myself. We can grow up to 255 plants at a time in our grow house. It's just 800 square foot. It's an indoor grow. We have grow lights, 20 grow lights. We have heating and cooling, humidity control, etc.
It's quite an investment to put all that in, yes?
Well, yes. We had the outbuilding, which is a steel building, insulated. But so we had that to work with. Then we had to do all of the internal elements, including everything that the cannabis, the CCD and the rules regulated, and specified.
Yeah.
Security systems, the big stipulation was that you had to have water rights, etc. So we worked through all of the issues, and we started our first crop, a photoperiod crop versus autoflower.
Yeah.
So we started the photoperiod crop, planted the seeds, and grew them to maturity. Had our first crop in late 2022, late in the fall of 2022, which was as good as expected. We had a good crop, but we are novice. We had our first crop. It was the same time that everyone else who was producing in the first year of recreational cannabis in New Mexico. So there was cannabis everywhere.
Yeah.
And our license was for producing. We chose not to have a business, a storefront, a mini storefront, and producing only 200 plants. We wanted to just produce. We didn't want traffic on our property, etc. We just wanted to produce cannabis and go out in the marketplace. We thought we had some support as far as entering, some contacts. But long story short, the marketplace was flooded. There was a lot of new business, a lot of demand, and there was a lot of cannabis at that time. But the dispensaries were producing their own. They weren't looking outside, so
Yeah.
we didn't sell anything.
Yeah.
So okay, so we went into 2023, right? Next year, we have a product. We have
Sorry,
flour.
can I just ask a quick question there? So if you didn't sell anything, what happened to that crop?
All right. We had the crop, and we went out and made some cold calls. We contacted some dispensaries. We had a meeting with a manufacturer, and we had a 2-hour meeting with this person, and it was really informative, and he was very friendly. We learned a lot. So this manufacturer who wants cannabis in bulk to extract the cannabinoids and make his product, he told them about his process and what he required from a producer, etc. So it was like 2-hour meeting. He would pay $225 or $350 per pound. And we brought with us a 10-gram sample for him to sample. So anyway, that was like eye-opening. That is, that's really, really low in terms of gram price, right?
Yeah.
So we left that meeting with knowledge. Yeah, we left it with knowledge. And we went to some dispensaries in Albuquerque. We went to the east part of New Mexico and went to a dispensary. It just didn't happen. There were a lot of licensees, a lot of dispensaries, a lot of people growing their own and or buying their own from other sources, and we just were not contacted. So to preserve our product, during our meeting with this manufacturer, he recommended that we buy a product called Bovita. It's like a humidity pack. We put it in our Mylar bags, and it preserves the terpenes and the humidity of the product.
Yeah.
And without that information, frankly, right now we wouldn't have anything. It'd be straw, and it'd be dust to the wind. So that's what has preserved our inventory. We're in winter, it's cold, but our environment, we can control the temperature, etc. We start another crop in the early spring or summer. The Cannabis Control Division compliance officer showed up on property.
Yeah.
Which they are allowed to do, which I expected. I'm growing. I've got the doors open. They inspect. They recommend that I do this and do that. At that point we were manufacturing pre-rolls, and what I had read did not require us to have a license, a manufacturing license, but that was not the fact. So we purchased a manufacturing license to accompany our producers and other minor compliance issues. So we remained compliant. We were growing, still a photo period, and we finished another crop. This is when it became apparent in like that the letter I sent you dated June 23 of 2023.
Correct.
Evident that the market was saturated. It is what it is. We decided to go forward. We're still going to produce.
So I suppose
We'll see what happens.
the question is how did you get in touch with the other producers who are co-signees to that letter? What made you all work together to write that? And what is it that you want to highlight with the New Mexico CCD? Is it the fact that small producers aren't given enough leeway to work in the market? Do they force too much compliance on you? I mean, as you say, compliance is, you have to do compliance. The investment for small
Right.
anywhere in the country is massive, and obviously, the big producers in the states or the multi-state producers always are going to have an economic advantage. So, what is it with the
Right.
what is it with the CCD rules that you guys feel don't work for you, and what needs to be changed?
There is a New Mexico Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. And so I think that's how I received this letter and was asked if I wanted to join with these other producers, which was like 100
Yeah,
actually, and to highlight the inequities in the system within the industry. So that's when it reinforced the fact to me that number one, maybe not number one, there's two issues.
yeah,
The CCD issues licenses. There is no restriction. They issue licenses forever. They are still issuing licenses, and for a comparison, New Mexico has about 2,900 licensees, and Colorado, which is our state to the north, has 3,000 licensees. Colorado has 6 million population. New Mexico has 2 million.
yeah.
So there's dispensaries everywhere. They're freaking everywhere. And they come out to our grow, our small grow, and they inspect us. But it has been recognized that they don't inspect everybody. In fact, recently it was stated by the Cannabis Control Division Director, Todd Stevens, that they've only inspected 50% of the licensees to date. So this is 2.5 years in, and they don't inspect. So there's too many licensees, and they're still providing, selling licenses. Secondly, there's no compliance. They don't enforce the rules. If you don't go out and enforce the rules, if they've only inspected 50%, then those folks that are uninspected realize soon that they aren't making money and that they're going to do whatever they can do to make money.
In Precy, the CCD are just keep issuing licenses, their lifetime licenses, and their compliance division, shall we say, or individuals have only inspected 50%. When you sent that letter, or when that letter was sent last year, stating these issues and highlighting some of the changes that are needed, I suppose the next question to ask is, did you get a response?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, there was no response. And I was online today. I was trying to, refresh my memory and gather my thoughts. And, the governor received the letter and ignored it, obviously. I mean, I don't know. There was no change.
Yeah.
And
And
so
what about ringing the CCD and talking to anybody there? Is that a nightmare situation? Is it even possible? Do people get back to you? Do people want to discuss anything with you? Or is there a sort of blank wall there as well?
that's a great question, because as I said, we had an inspection in 2023.
Yeah.
So this year we had another inspection. Okay.
Oh, so
And it was time to renew
you've had two
again.
inspections, but only
Yeah.
50% of the
Yes.
people have been inspected.
Yeah. Yes. And we pay our fees, and we are compliant. We respect the rules, and if we need to comply, we do. So yeah, so the last time an individual came out, or a compliance officer, is like, why do I pay these fees? But anyway, to answer your question, yes, I have communicated with the CCD. I have communicated with the licensee representatives. I was in touch with them almost daily, trying to renew our license in August of this year. And it's like their data, their information regarding my two licenses,
Mhm.
producer and manufacturer, their times didn't coordinate with mine. It's like, one license was supposed to be done on August 16th, and it was just disinformation. It was not, their information was not correct. So, I still have these emails about this communication, the misinformation, and I finally spoke to the director, Todd Stevens, who is the fourth director of the CCD. Fourth director in what, 2.5 years?
Yeah.
And he's from Colorado. And I expressed my concerns to him, and he actually answered my phone. And at the time, he had COVID and he was home. But anyway, I talked to this young man from Colorado, and uh, it was frustrating. What happened is the CCD started, I would say, a campaign. They sent out information to all licensees that you need to start your renewal process no later than 30 days before, et cetera, et cetera. And the year before, I renewed, no problem. I sent my monies in, I got renewed, and so forth. So this year, it was a campaign of frustration, documentation. I had documentation, document my taxes, my everything, right?
Yeah.
And then it finally came down to the fact that I didn't have a county permit. And I didn't have a county permit when they approved it in 2022. That was recognized, was part of the process. It was, full disclosure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So finally, I'm talking to the director of the Cannabis Control Division on August 7th, 2024, and regarding our renewal. And he said, well, you need to get, you have to have that county, permit. And he said, and I want to be clear, he said, there's no extension. We can't extend your license. I said, okay. And he said, and I said, okay. And I'm growing cannabis. I'm growing 200 plants.
Yeah.
And I have an inventory. And I said, okay. well, then what is our status when when our license is not renewed? And he said, well, you'll be illegal. So the Cannabis Control Division knew that we were growing. They knew we had a legal right to grow, and they deliberately pushed us into illegality.
Well, Richard, look, but I'm just going to make a comment here for listeners, because I've heard this story in more than one state. Smaller
Oh, okay.
smaller producers who make themselves known to these bodies and complain have found themselves in a very similar position to yourself. You know, New York is a perfect example. This has happened to a couple of people. I was speaking to a lawyer recently in New York who had a client. She was actually not a grower. She was a retailer, creator of edibles, and she had exactly the same issues as you.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't complain and
Okay.
you just go out of business, they're very happy. But if you complain and are determined to not kick up a fuss is the wrong word, but if you're determined to make sure that they comply to the rules that they've made and provide timely information, it's not unusual that those individuals or small businesses suddenly find themselves with receiving more compliance issues than others. So I have heard this story before, and it's really interesting to hear it out of a state like New Mexico, where you would have thought the market is fairly small,
Right.
and they should be able to manage these issues. Have you spoken to other producers
Yes.
who have made themselves known like you have and are having a similar experience?
No, I have not, Sean. I've just relied on public information, of course, on the internet, etc. And but I will add one thing.
Yeah.
The situation regarding us this past summer, there was this issue of the fact that the CCD's information wasn't didn't match ours. It didn't match our licenses. It didn't. They were saying, well, then your license was supposed to be renewed then, and I said, no, no, that is not true. So I believe and this was admitted by the director, Todd Stevens, they changed systems. I believe their database, decimated or ruined, and the director, admitted that they had an issue. So they are trying to correct these issues about not being able to
Manage
comply or
manage the
inspect
program
when
that they need to.
when they don't know where where their licensees are. They were just trying to cover up, and the communications I have are the folks that are doing this are borderline incompetent. And if you have 4 directors in 2 years, there's no continuity, there's
Yep.
no direction. So yeah, so I don't, I can't document that there are others besides myself, but I was online today. People they're stating the same thing. Too many licensees, no compliance, no enforcement.
And
So
confusion
people are just dying on the
in the
vine.
office. Yeah. Confusion in the office. And
Yeah, chaos.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how do you work when you have a director every 6 months? I mean, business doesn't work like that. You have to have continuity, right? And some direction. So anyway, that's where we're at.
Well, I mean, look, that's
And we
perfect.
have options.
that's perfect timing because look, we're almost out. So I wanted to ask you a couple of quick questions, but before we go, the first one is,
Okay.
where
Okay.
are you now with your business, and are you able to sell your product within New Mexico or not?
Thank you for that question. We decided not to grow another crop
Yep.
over this period, fall to winter. We have an inventory of approximately 18,000 grams that we cannot sell. So the options are that the Drug Enforcement Agency is conducting a hearing, which has been scheduled for January 21st. They've already gone through the formal process of soliciting comments, 60 days. So the DEA is is a division of the Department of Justice. They
Yep.
have scheduled the hearings to start on January 1st to reschedule cannabis from Schedule 1
To
to
3.
Schedule 3, from a heroin category to Tylenol. So if that happens, and politics play a big part in this, but the present administration supports. They are pro cannabis. They are supporting rescheduling from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. So the new administration, I don't know, but if it's
I think
rescheduled, and I
nobody
think it
knows.
will be, because that's correct. You're right, and I'm not holding my breath. But if it is, then we can legally transport our product from state to state. We could take our dog and pony show to Idaho,
Yeah.
or wherever, and in a travel trailer. Or if it is rescheduled, that's going to open up the e-commerce eventually. I mean, it would still have to be decriminalized federally, but when you deschedule a drug, for a drug from heroin to, aspirin, then it's just a matter of time. So, but we need relief, and
Well,
we're going to find it somehow.
Well, Richard, look, thank you very much for highlighting your specific issues as a small producer in New Mexico. It will make me
Right.
investigate further after publishing this podcast. This discussion that we've had isn't unusual in most of the states that all the states.
Okay.
Except for Colorado and maybe Oregon and Washington, every other state has had this issue, and it's something I'm pushing on quite hard, is as you highlight, the hiring of people who are hired to lead these organizations, not just them, but also the hiring of the people that work there. And I think that some major issue is they become statutory bodies, but
Yes.
just hiring people who either have other agendas after they've done their public service inverted commas work, or they're just people who want to connect dots and get their wages every week. So it's really interesting to speak to you in New Mexico, and discover the same story I'm hearing throughout the US.
Well, excellent. So I've enjoyed talking with you. So
Richard, and thank you.
Thank you for asking me.
Well, not a problem at all. And look, I will edit and publish the podcast. We'll get it out there. We'll see if we can get some more people interested in your story.
Live and direct, live and I take no jive.
Legalize it. Coming, how much can a koala bear? Koala bear, koala bear. Koala bear. Barry pulls a joint out of his pocket. Bill says, "Great, Barry, a reefer."